Since civil war broke out in Syria in 2011, more than 5 million refugees have been forced to leave their home country. This is the biggest refugee crisis since World War II. They're not merely numbers. They're mothers longing to educate their children, fathers searching for work again, children thirsting for childhood. In this special episode of Vaticano, we travel to Jordan and Lebanon to discover how the Back to the Future project is helping to address the crisis. Amman, the capital of Jordan, seems to be carved in stone. The city is in the middle of the desert, on a mountain almost 2,700 feet high. The old city is sharply different from the new one. On the one hand, houses, tradition, history. On the other, wealth and institutional buildings, showing that institutions want to gain importance. Amman is one of the places where the efforts to welcome Syrian refugees are coordinated. There are 240,000 refugees in Jordan who are between the ages of 13 and 18. They should go to school, but most of them can't. They can't for many reasons. School buildings are not enough. Refugees are sometimes not registered and so don't formally exist. Children can't get to the schools because there's no transportation to get them there. Project Back to the Future is for them. Financed by the EU's Madad Trust Fund, Back to the Future is operated by a consortium of NGOs, AVSI, Teerdom Italy, Teerdom Netherlands, and War Child Holland. The final aim of the project is to restore hope in the future. There are many ways Back to the Future operates. It reaches out to children to help them attend school. It provides assistance for homework and to overcome learning deficits that are often a result of war. Rebuilding or renovating schools is another way to help children. Wadi al-Qatar School is located not far from Amman in an almost forgotten land in the middle of a desert and behind a junkyard. In this area, garbage isn't even collected, and so sometimes the population itself provides for waste disposal. Going to school is very important for children who live here. That's why the school building needs to be renovated. Samir Salah is the civil engineering working on that project.
The school is just at the outskirts of Amman, which is in Jordan and is in an area called Marka area. And we are going to rehabilitate it because it's actually serving a large area, a large geographic area here, and it has a lot of refugees. About 30% of the schools are refugees, and there is a congestion of students here, a large number of students in the classroom, and the situation of the school, the services have deteriorated a lot during the past years because of improper maintenance.
EWTN was in the school to see how the renovation is going. EWTN also visited a school in Zarqa, a former Palestinian refugee camp that has become the third largest city in Jordan. Our cameras caught up with the children who attend the school. Every story tells one aspect of the conflict in Syria that now seems to be forgotten. Every story shows the children's hope to go back to the future.
During the war, when the bombing started in our area, I took all my children and fled to Jordan. My husband came 2 years later. I wanted my children to study, so I immediately enrolled them at this school. It helped them a lot. One of my daughters missed 1 year of school and the other suffered from traumas because of war. So she went through a lot. Now they're both going to school and I help them with their homework at home.
Manal is one of the mothers whose children attend the Zarqa Center not far from Amman. Families of refugees are facing huge issues. It's difficult to enroll children in schools. It's difficult to help their kids to network. It's difficult to bring their children up to the educational level pertinent to their age. Most of them heard about the Back to the Future program through the outreach of the consortium. What makes the difference is that families of refugees were able to obtain apartments through rental agreements. Places are not as nice as they should be, they say, but it's always home. In Jordan, the project Back to the Future collaborates with 2 educational community centers and 6 public schools. The final target is to enroll 2,700 children in remedial and homework support activities. They've reached 44% of people up until now. The difference is made by the commitment of Jordan's government to enroll all of the children in public schools.
Jordan received 1.4 million Syrian refugees, 700,000 of them are registered by UNHCR. When the Syrian crisis started, first of all, we accept the Syrian children in our school till the number of Syrian students reach more than 130,000 in public school, and also we have more than 15,000 of Syrian students in private school, the cost covered by NGOs. At that time, His Majesty King Abdullah II asked the government that no children should be outside school. We have to accept the whole children on the land of Jordan in our school. So we accept the whole Syrian student in our school. Most of our school became crowded because the crisis and the acceptance of those children in our school. And after that, 2 years ago, because the number of Syrian became to increase, we opened 204 double shift school, especially for Syrian students. And also we have 50% of those 130,000 students in morning shift side by side in morning shift school. We teach them the Jordanian curriculum and teach by Jordanian teacher. So we are looking for 0 student outside school here in Jordan. Here is our goal. So when they will come back to their country, they will help with building their country after the end of the war.
Along with projects for basic literacy and counting, Back to the Future is helping to rehabilitate school buildings. Lubaba Primary School in Amman is being completely renovated. The engineer shows us with pride the field and the internal courtyard where children will gather in their recreational time. All of this will help children to be more at ease in renovated space, despite overcrowding due to the arrival of Syrian refugees. Thanks for watching. Stick around for more on Vaticano. Welcome back. You're watching Vaticano. But what do Syrian children dream? Generally, it's for a normal life. 10-year-old Khaled dreams of becoming a doctor. Now she attends 3rd grade. She likes to study Arabic and English. Her family escaped to Jordan together with her 3 siblings. Absalam also enjoys going to school.
I came to Jordan 3 years ago with all of my family, my parents and siblings. I like to come to school, and I like studying Arabic, but also English and physics.
Even the European Union is very active in Jordan. Along with the government, they support refugees to be enrolled in the public system. Andrea Matteo Fontana is the head of the EU delegation to Jordan.
So the project Back to the Future is particularly important because it is part of our efforts to improve education. And the idea here is that there is no lost generation, which means that all the children that are here receive education and the capacity to build their skills for the future work, for the future professional development. This is a regional project that benefits Lebanese, Jordanian and Syrian children. So it tackles both the refugee population and the host communities and tries to improve the opportunities for education that exist for these children.
Jordan is under the Catholic Church's Latin Patriarchate of Jerusalem. The Catholic school system is among the best in the area, and they've also welcomed refugees from the Syrian crisis. Above all, they give a great contribution to fostering a spirit of welcoming.
Our students, they live together, Christian and Muslim, and they grow together in their life. So they have the same tradition, the same education, and the same life, the same difficulties, the same celebrations. So when they grow up together, they have a good relation together till now, also in the families.
I don't care if we stay here or if we go back to Syria. I'd like my daughters to become doctors and my son a pilot. I don't care where they'll be. I hope they'll carry on with their studies. I want them to study English because English is very important.
The combined efforts to help refugees is key to helping them restore their hope in the future. Lebanon is a nation under reconstruction. The civil war that took place 30 years ago left profound scars, and they haven't yet healed. Lebanon is a country called to be a message of peaceful coexistence among different religions, ethnic groups, and resources. A message of peace to be spread despite a fragile balance of powers. Escaping from the conflict in Syria, 1.2 million people have sought refuge in Lebanon. In most of the cases, these refugees are considered illegal, as they're not registered. It's an army of invisible people, although everybody can feel the presence. Since they arrived, the Lebanese population has grown by 1/4. According to figures, there are 450,000 refugees in Lebanon between 3 and 18 years of age. 60% of them don't go to school. These children and teenagers have not only lost the hope for a normal life, they've lost their hope in a future. In order to give back hope to these children, a consortium of NGOs launched a project called Back to the Future. The consortium is made up of the AVSI Foundation, Terre d'Homme Italy, and Terre d'Homme Netherlands, and War Child Holland. The project is financed by the European Union via the EU's Madad Trust Fund. Back to the Future aims at reducing the impact the Syrian crisis is having on the most vulnerable minors, on their families, and on the communities that are hosting them. EWTN could see closely how the Back to the Future project works in Lebanon. We've been to Tripoli, in the north of Lebanon. There we saw it clear. Going to school is crucial for children refugees coming from Syria. Manar has 3 kids that attend the Anwar Minay Center.
I live in a refugee camp. There I met some volunteers and they asked me about my children. I told them my children have been rejected by schools. They told me there was the possibility to take them to this school. My children have been attending classes here for about 3 months now and they're benefiting a lot. Their mood changed and their approach towards others.
In a few moments, we'll be back with more on Vaticano. More on Vaticano begins now. Through education, Syrian refugees are being given back their hope for a future, since they really long to go back to the future. Back to the Future projects consist in many activities. Children who have fled from war haven't been able to attend school for 1, 2, or even 3 years. Inserting them into the school system isn't easy. Many children need to learn English or French, because in Lebanon, English and French are the languages they're taught in. Back to the Future is responding to the lack of safe and dignified physical spaces for learning, and also their caregivers' lack of means to provide transportation, school meals, and materials. The project is also countering the high dropout rates of Syrian refugee children from public schools, to child labor and early marriage in vulnerable communities. There's also the issue that children that have been out of school for more than 3 years are prevented from entering the mainstream education system. The Lebanese government provides some accelerated programs to help them catch up to the education level of their age.
The main challenge that we are facing is the huge number of school-aged children that are distributed all over the country, and it's not easy to bring them, it's not easy to outreach them, to identify where they are located exactly, and convince them about the need to get education and the need to come to school. According to UNHCR registration, they say that there are 630,000 school-aged children. Until now, we were able to bring to formal education around 220,000 in public school and around 60,000 in private schools, semi-private and fully private. And the others, we have some in non-formal education, around 100,000. So the others are left behind, unreached.
Al-Takadom School in Tripoli is one of those interested in the Back to the Future project. The building is inside the city. It's been readjusted to be used as a school. Children from 4 to 13 years of age attend. Diana Bahat-Sarri, the school principal, explains that it's not just about education. There's a need to give psychological support and help children to reintegrate in schools. It's not easy. Some of them still live in refugee camps. same happens in the north of Lebanon in the Anwar Minay Center. The school is organized in 2 shifts, and the afternoon is dedicated to informal education for Syrian refugee children. They're given basic counting and literacy lessons, but also psychosocial support. To these children, the Back to the Future project is crucial. Ruhia has 6 children, and 2 of them attend the Anwar Minay Center.
We stayed in Syria during the first years of conflict despite the bombing. Then we fled. We first stayed in the country and then we illegally crossed the border to Lebanon. I've been here since 2013. 2 of our children are attending classes in the center. We've been helped by volunteers who told us they could give our children the opportunity to at least receive informal education. One of my children is 14 and he never attended school, nor took part in the activities of the center. He's affected by strong trauma because of war and he's also afraid to come to school by bus.
The Back to the Future project has been supported by the EU Madad Fund. Since the outbreak of the Syrian crisis, the European Union has been very active in Lebanon to help the country cope.
So the EU commitment here in Lebanon has developed a lot over the years. We've been present for decades here, but I'll say in particular since the beginning of the Syrian crisis back in 2011, we have really increased our engagement here very considerably. We give today 6 to 7 times more in assistance than we did back in 2011 because the needs here are really enormous. As you know, there's more than 1 million, probably around 1.3 million Syrian refugees here, and they came to Lebanon in a situation where already the regional situation was not easy, so the economic impact on the country has been quite tough. So there's been a lot for us to do in these years in terms of assisting Lebanon with taking care of these refugees, but also, of course, very much supporting all the Lebanese host communities who have been affected by this crisis.
Back to the Future is engaging on a variety of fronts to bring assistance to those in need. Ensuring a hope-filled future for the refugees requires a huge amount of organization. Back to the Future provides rehabilitation for public schools with painting, sanitation, site work, and electricity. A look at the figures helps to understand the impact of the project. There are 22 educational community centers across Lebanon. The activities vary from early childhood education to basic literacy and counting, foreign language support, homework support, and remedial classes. Up to today, the project has reached 70% of the 10,915 children out of school and 50% of children enrolled in school. The rehabilitation of 4 schools in the south and Sabatir and north of the country are complete, while 4 schools being rehabilitated in North Lebanon are 70% complete.
We'd like to return to Syria, but only when the situation settles down. In Syria, all my children went to school. Here, the oldest one dropped out. I'd love them to keep on studying. In the end, I'd like to go to a foreign country to give my children the possibility of a good education.
It's just a small step to restore hope to these children and bring them back to the future.